WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. With over 350 restaurants to choose from, Bloomington, Indiana is truly a food lover's paradise. Go to visitbloomington.com to discover what suits your taste.
This is WFYI News Now. It's February 16th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, an update on the John Rust case at the state Supreme Court. Obstetrics care is down in Indiana, contributing to the state's high rates of maternal and infant mortality. A bill that would impact unlicensed child care providers. And a bill that the State House would require public schools to develop a protocol for armed intruder drills. But some lawmakers are worried that the drills could traumatize students and staff.
Why not completely get rid of that and just keep during the day, the school day hours, just keep the training that does not involve these components?
Those stories coming up, but first, a popular art fair that showcases the work of Black artists returns to Indianapolis for All-Star Weekend. Butter at Indy's home court will feature sports-related artwork from 30 local artists. Deanna Craig is the Butter Fine Art Fair director. She says this pop-up exhibition caters to a different audience than previous Butter fairs and will give guests a new visual experience because of the basketball-inspired theme.
Sports is something that many families celebrate together from childhood to adulthood, and the legacy that's embedded in that. And so you'll get that same feeling when you walk into the Arts Garden for Butter at Indy's home court.
The artists will receive all the profits made from the sale or loan of their work. The fair is open to the public from Friday to Sunday at the Indianapolis Arts Garden. This is the first pop-up exhibition for arts and culture group Gang Gang. It's looking more likely that the Indiana Supreme Court won't allow Southern Indiana egg farmer John Rust to be on the Republican primary ballot for U.S. Senate. Rust is challenging the state's ballot access law. It says to run as a Republican or a Democrat in a primary, you must have voted in that party's primary in the last 2 primary elections you cast a ballot, or you have to get the permission of the county party leader where you live. A trial court last year ruled for Rust, ordering that he be put on the Senate ballot. The state Supreme Court heard arguments in the case Monday, and now the Supreme Court has issued a stay of the trial court's ruling, meaning that they've put on hold the order that ensures Rust remains on the ballot. While the court's full ruling is still to come, the stay is a bad sign for Rust's campaign. Obstetrics care closures in Indiana contribute to the state's high rates of maternal and infant mortality. Abigail Ruman explains a report shows one hospital system has been closing OB services at a higher rate than the national average, and Indiana is one of the states losing care in the process.
Ascension, a health system with 140 hospitals in 19 states, has closed 26% of its labor and delivery departments since 2012, according to a report from National Nurses United. The report found these closures were in areas with already high mortality rates and in low-income areas. Ilana Kessler is the lead author and researcher on the report. She says 3 of the 5 closures since 2022 have been in Indiana.
I just really actually see Indiana as like this almost like poster child, this trend that Ascension is having throughout the hospitals in the country, and really just disproportionately contributing to Indiana's reproductive health crisis.
The report also says Ascension has chronic understaffing in facilities that still provide OB care. A spokesperson for Ascension says the report is a misleading representation of the clinical decisions the system has made. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Abigail Ruman.
A bill that allows unlicensed child care providers to serve more children for more hours each week easily advanced out of the Senate committee Wednesday, even as Democrats express unease with the measure. The bill allows unlicensed home-based providers to care for as many as 7 children, up from 5. And a change in the Senate committee ensures no more than 3 of them are less than a year old. But those counts don't include any children in their care who are relatives or their own children. Democratic Senator Shelley Yoder voted against the bill.
This makes me really uncomfortable expanding in this way without addressing the number of children that might be present in the home already from the parent.
Another Democratic senator questioned whether people who regularly visit the home should have background checks. Republican Senator Liz Brown says that's unreasonable.
If you want to talk about government overreach, overregulation, and increasing the cost, now you think about that.
The bill passed 8-2 along party lines and now heads to the full Senate. And for our final story today, a Senate committee advanced a bill on Wednesday that would require public schools to develop a protocol for armed intruder drills. Several school safety advocates testified in support of the bill, but some lawmakers worry the drill would negatively impact students and staff. The bill sets guidelines for drills that include accommodating students who have mobility restrictions and other types of limitations. It also restricts drills that include sensory components like fake gunshots or a prop firearm from taking place during regular school hours when a majority of students are present. Students and staff members would not be required to participate in such drills. Senator Fadi Kadora said he's heard concern that even with restrictions, the drills could traumatize students and staff.
Why not completely get rid of that and just keep during the school day hours, just keep the training that does not involve these components?
Representative Michelle Davis, the bill's author, says the proposal tries to reduce harm as much as possible and that allowing law enforcement to perform drills in schools better prepares them in case of a real emergency.
I want them to know where building A3, door 5 is if something's happening.
The bill now heads to the Senate Appropriations Committee. That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by the following people who live in your community: Darian Benson, Drew Daudelin, Kendall Antron, who composed the music for this podcast, and me, Abriana Herron. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Monday.